Hello, fellow horror fiends, and welcome to The Horror Within Me, a podcast dedicated to the world of horror. Join us each week as our host explores a new, horrifying topic from the many realms of horror, such as film, television, and more, and returns to tell us his terrifying revelations. So sit back, relax, and get ready to face the horrors within.
Hi, and welcome to another spooky Sunday episode of The Horror Within Me. I am your host, Eric, and we are going to go on yet another adventure in the world of horror movies. And this week's horror movie we decided to do is 1983's Cujo, which is based off of the 1981 book by Stephen King of the same name. I thought it was a very fitting way to end August with this movie that is very, it gives you so much of that heat feeling of August, of dehydration and the sun, and the movie's just also fucking awesome. So I thought that it deserved an episode to itself. So that's what this week's episode is going to be. But in other horror movie news, we have a few things I want to talk about before we get into the review and rating or discussion of Cujo. First thing I want to talk about, last week's episode, the past few weeks, every week I've been talking about Monster Mania Con 50. And last week I discussed my experience there. And then after the show aired last week, we've gotten some breaking news involving an actor that was at Monster Mania Con in Cherry Hill, Gary Busey, and being charged with sexual assault and misconduct with a few women. There's 3 or 4 women that came forward saying that he was inappropriately touching and doing things to them, to the point where they visibly complained, and then security and another actor removed him from the venue. This is very unfortunate news to hear, and it's not something that you want to hear about. I personally didn't see him. I was in the room where he was in the same room as Danielle Harris and a lot of the other stars. But as I said, he's not someone that I was personally looking forward to or looking for, so I didn't pay attention to where he was at in the room. But it's just a very unfortunate thing to hear, and hopefully these women get justice, right? I mean, this is just unfortunate, and that's just going to be where I leave that. But in other horror movie news, I do want to talk about some updates and some, marketing that has begun with Halloween Ends. If you follow me on TikTok, you know I've been posting about it. I'm very excited. We've got a couple new posters and some weird Laurie Strode message that's like an after-school special. So the big news is, for Halloween Ends, they're going to do what Halloween Kills did, and it's going to be streaming on Peacock the same day that it's released in theaters on October 14th. So, mixed reviews. People are happy. People aren't happy. I'm happy. I think it's fine. I plan on going to see it in the theater, as I mentioned in my TikTok. I plan on going to see it in the theater, and also probably watching it later on at another date close by, at home. Because I would like to reevaluate, and the first time I watch it is going to be like the experience. The second time I watch it is going to be really me paying attention to things I may have missed. Then we got some cool posters. We got a poster that's like a weird standoff, weird back-to-back pose with Michael and Laurie, which is very I don't know, I can't explain. It reminds me Property Brothers pose, I don't know. But super cool. My favorite poster they released though was the poster of Laurie, and it just says "Final Girl," and there's a blurry person in the background laying on the ground, and people were speculating that it's a dead person. I heard even one of the people that I follow say that it was maybe just a really fluffy rug. I don't think it's just a fluffy rug. I think that it's a dead person. Some people are assuming that it's Corey Cunningham. I don't think Corey Cunningham, that she killed Corey Cunningham because he was impersonating Michael, but if you look at the body, he's not in a jumper, so I don't think that's what that is. My personal outlook on it. And then Jamie Lee Curtis posted another picture today that was saying how her Instagram is now back to normal as at Jamie Lee Curtis, but the photo that she chose to use was a picture of Laurie screaming on the stairs or wherever she is in this house, and it looks like just a very painful scream, which brings me to think that whatever this shot is, whoever just is being attacked or was just killed, it is extremely personal to Laurie, and there's only one person left, which is her granddaughter Allison. So I don't want to jump too far down the rabbit hole, but check out the posters and let me know what you think. A couple other things in horror movie world news is we got a snippet, like teaser promo for the brand new Hellraiser remake that is coming exclusively to Hulu on October 7th. That I don't know much about what's going on there. I've only seen the first Hellraiser one time. Everyone knows who Pinhead is. I think it's an amazing thing that they're rebringing it back, and I believe I haven't done much research, but from things that I've heard here and there is that it's a girl or someone feminine, like a female playing Pinhead, which I think is so fucking fun and fresh. Like nothing against the original Pinhead, who was also at Monster Mania Con. I think it's nice to take a fresh take and to do things differently. Like that's the fun part of remakes. As long as they don't go too far off, like we talked about in Friday the 13th, where like they're doing too much. I'm very eager to get like a real trailer for it and to see where that kind of goes and how they play it into the new world that we're in now. You know what I mean? And lastly, speaking of trailers, we finally got a Terrifier 2 trailer. Did anybody watch it? I watched the trailer once. I love Art the Clown. I watched Terrifier once. I need to watch it again. I think I might schedule like a movie viewing night with a couple friends and my husband to watch it, because Art the Clown is so fucking creepy. Say what you want about some of the acting and some of the gore and blood. I mean, on the budget it did very well, in my opinion, for making that movie. But the new movie, it seems very interesting. I heard a rumor that it was over 2 hours. I'm hoping that that's just not correct. I'm not sure why that would need to be. But don't get me wrong, it could be worth it. I don't know. But I think the Art the Clown, the trailer of Terrifier 2, following the clown coming back from the dead and stalking this brother and sister on Halloween night, it looks very interesting. He looks amazing still. He still looks like he has that fucking 100% creep factor. And I can't wait to keep looking into more information and getting more stuff in regards to that. So stay tuned for more content regarding Terrifier 2, Halloween Ends, and the Hellraiser remake on Hulu. So other than that, that is all I have in current horror movie news. And so we're going to move on to the next part of our show, which I'm going to recoin the term. It's going to be called Terrifying Trivia, because apparently terror trivia is like a universal thing and I don't want any issues. But we're going to do Terrifying Trivia, and I'm going to pick a trivia question based on not Cujo, but the movie Hellraiser, since we were just talking about that, and it's very exciting that we got some little promo thing for it. So this week's Terrifying Trivia question is, who wrote the novella The Hellbound Heart, which inspired the movie Hellraiser? Again, the question is, who wrote the novella The Hellbound Heart, which inspired the movie Hellraiser? And as always, I will give you the answer at the end of the episode, and I wonder if anyone has gotten any of them right. I wonder if you already know. People that are Hellraiser fans out there in the horror world, right off the bat, sorry, I hit my mic. Right off the bat who it is, and super cool. So anyway, let's move forward and start our discussion on why we're here this week, which is the 1983 movie Cujo. We're going to dive in and do what we usually do before we get moving forward. Synopsis on IMDb goes as such. Cujo, a friendly St. Bernard, contracts rabies and conducts a reign of terror on a small American town. Okay. That is not a bad synopsis for IMDb. I'm happy with it. You know how I feel about these synopses that they put out there, But this one I'm going to go and say decent. Not a bad one. We said based on the book by Stephen King. and it's directed by Louis Teague, and it stars Dee Wallace as Donna Trenton, Daniel Hugh Kelly as Vic Trenton, Danny Pintaro as Tad Trenton, and I'm not sure which dog or dogs have played Cujo. I couldn't find any information on their names or anything like that. Obviously, they're no longer living, but the IMDb rating is a 6 out of 10, and Rotten Tomatoes is at 60%, and it has a runtime of an hour and 31 minutes. Okay, so 6 out of 10 isn't terrible, and 60% isn't terrible. We've come across worse. I thought it would have been a little bit higher up. I thought it was well done, but I think everything is well done. I love it. Everything that I'm picking are movies that I enjoy. I have I have too much that I haven't really picked a movie where I'm like, I'm going to talk for 25 minutes about a movie that I really fucking hate. No. I'm not saying it's not going to happen, and also just for you listeners out there that enjoy the podcast and like the reviews, this isn't the only content that we're going to be doing. I know the majority of this podcast and this show is based around reviewing single horror movies, but like as such, last week we did a top 5 shark attack movie. I have a couple other things planned we'll discuss at the end of this episode. So it's not just going to be, only one movie review every week. So pay attention to the title and the description of the show when you're getting ready to play it. But anyway, if you recognize the name Dee Wallace, which as a horror fiend, I expect you do, she is a horror icon. She has been in so many classic, like cult classic films such as The Howling, E.T., Critters, The Hills Have Eyes, Rob Zombie's Halloween. I mean, that is just a few to name on the long, well-deserved list of movies that Dee Wallace has been in. And I think that she is just an amazing actress, and honestly one that I would love to interview in a future episode. I would love to sit down and really discuss how the horror community and horror world has changed her and shaped her life since the 70s, since The Hills Have Eyes. I just want to, I think it's just fascinating, and she deserves all the fucking respect in the world. And nothing less of amazing performance again in Cujo as the mother, Donna Trenton, which for me it's kind of weird because my mother's name was Donna and I was born and raised in Trenton. So it's kind of ironic that her name is Donna Trenton. I don't know. It's just kind of funny to me. But let's talk about Cujo. And a little thing that I think I might add, I'm going to start and do a test on this episode, is going to be kill counts. How can we have a horror show and not talk about kill counts? I apologize for leaving that out for 18 episodes. We didn't discuss how many kills every movie. If there are none, then there's none, but that's still a kill count, right? 0 is a kill count. So we're going to do Cujo kill count at the end of the episode, before we answer the trivia question and after we rate the movie. Okay. Cujo came out, like I said, in 1983. We're coming up on 40 years, and it's just one of those movies. I own it. I do own this one on Blu-ray, and I have had it for so long, but haven't really watched it too many times. It's a movie that I don't think I have appreciated as much when I was younger, that I appreciate more now as I'm older, which I'm coming to find with many of the movies that I'm going back and reviewing and rediscussing as I reanalyze. Everything is saying is re. But anyway, Cujo, what a story of a dog who is this amazing pet, and he's not the dog to the Trentons. He's the dog of the auto repair shop guy, right? And he is just a friendly, great, big, lovable Saint Bernard, everything you want in a dog. That's what Cujo is. He's playing in the field, and he goes into like a little hole where he gets bit by a bat on the nose and unfortunately contracts rabies. And this is a spoiler alert, kind of. 40 years have almost passed since this movie's been released. This is more, there might be some spoilers. I'm going to try not to do too many spoilers, but yes, the majority of the movie it's hard to spoil too much of it. But anyway, the point of the movie is we have a mother and a son, right? who are going to get the car fixed and then come to the auto shop where Cujo lives, when comes in contact with the dog, who is now at this point rabid, and begins to try to attack them, where they are now trapped and locked inside the car, and the car will not start, and they are just stuck, because if they try to get out of the car, the dog will kill them. He's a big Saint Bernard. If you don't know what a Saint Bernard is, pause the episode, go to Google Saint Bernard, and then come back and continue listening to this week's episode. But yeah, I think I think this is what I really appreciated most about the film, is the simplicity of the storyline and the characters. There's just really mainly two main characters. Now, for horror movie purposes, there's other characters. There's some deaths, to really get it going and really show the viciousness of a dog with rabies. But the main premise is they're locked in this car. It's in the dead of summer, and there's no air. They can't turn it on. There's no air conditioning. They can't roll down the window. The dog's just there, and it's so, it makes you feel claustrophobic. The movie does a wonderful job at portraying how uncomfortable the characters are growing and getting the longer they're stuck in this car. The visible soaked sweat and the chapped lips, kind of similar to like what we talked about with the Texas Chainsaw remake, but like dialed up 100. There's it, and the dog trying to get in through the window. I mean, it is just a very tense movie, and not only are they the main characters, Donna and Tad, who is the son, trying to, figure a way out of this, but the boy is young and he's starting to, not do too well, and the mother is becoming desperate. And you feel her desperation. It is an uncomfortable thing to watch, as you watch these people slowly become dehydrated and face dehydration and possible death. So it's not just a rabid dog that they're battling dehydration at the same time, being locked in a hot car. I mean, come on. We hear stories every summer, countless times across the nation, of parents who accidentally leave their kids in the car and they die, or an animal that's locked in a car and they die. Like, in the dead of summer, with the windows up, with no air circulation, it doesn't take a very long time to dehydrate and die in these situations. And so I think, and the fact that there's a dog with rabies outside, I think that all of the elements of the movie come together very nicely, but not just very nicely, in a very realistic way. I think that's what's so scary about Cujo, is that it's not a movie monster, and it's not something that is so fantastical that it couldn't happen. This is something that, as simple as a mom and a child going to a local auto shop, like in their little town. It's a small town and a small auto shop in the middle of places that aren't close. It's not like a busy city, so it's rural, and just going there and then being exposed and being trapped, it's gotta, it's a very helpless and hopeless situation. You don't have very many weapons in the car. She doesn't have a gun. So the movie, really, the bulk of the movie is about the progression of dehydration amongst the two characters while facing the dog who's trying to also kill them. And it's to the point, like, there's a scene that keeps popping in my head where it's flashing, where the dog is not like visibly like trying to do anything, but has given up on trying to get in the car at this point for now, but is waiting for them. It's like trying to beat the clock and like fighting against them to see when they're going to get out the car, knowing that eventually they have to come out of the car. So he's laying across the field, kind of, and just laying down very calmly, looking like a normal kind of dog, just laying there but facing the car. And it's like, what do you do? Because like, he's not, like, he hasn't given up, he's resting. but he's waiting. He's still hunting, but he's conserving his energy in the heat as well, which is kind of interesting for a dog that contracts rabies. I don't know much about them, but it's still, it's still got the hunter mentality of a dog inside the wildness. I think the domestication of the breed is lost when it gets the rabies. So the movie just is beautifully done. Again, I think Dee Wallace's performance is just hands down amazing, especially the end, the climax scene when I don't want to give out what happens for those of you who may be younger and have never seen Cujo. It is something that I read that how they did the movie ending is different than how the book ends, which I haven't read the book. And as a huge Stephen King fan, I'm surprised that I haven't read the book, but I'm still trying to pick up books. And I think this is one I'm going to pick up now that I'm diving into it more. But yeah, so the if you've read the book and not the movie and haven't seen the movie, apparently it's a little different. So you won't be missing, you won't be knowing exactly everything that happens in the movie, which I kind of enjoy sometimes, as long as it's not completely different, as in the case of the original Shining movie compared to the original book, The Shining by Stephen King. That was vastly different. But yes, that is my my description and my feeling on the movie Cujo. It's a little bit shorter this week. There wasn't too much to really get into with the movie without doing too many spoilers, but definitely one I think worth checking out. We're going to do our rating system for the movie Cujo, which this week's rating system is going to be dog collars. Duh. And for the movie Cujo, I'm going to give it a 8 out of 10 dog collars. I think, again, the movie is amazing. I think Dee Wallace's performance is amazing. I think it gives you that sense of dread and hopelessness, and overall just very well done. I think that the reason that I give it 8 and I don't give it a 10 out of 10 is because I learned of the ending in the book compared to the movie, and I think that it changes the entire ending completely, and I think that if they would have stuck with it, it would have been a little more realistic, and I'm going to leave it at that. So, kill count for the movie Cujo. In the movie Cujo, there are 4 kills. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. 4 deaths on screen, or no, I can't say on screen. There are 4 deaths in the movie Cujo. So that's a fun thing to mark down. Cujo kill count 4. And that is the review of Cujo. So let me know if you've seen the movie or if you haven't seen the movie. But we're going to move forward and answer the terrifying trivia question for this week. And I'm going to read it again. Damn, I keep hitting that mic this week. For terrifying trivia. I'm going to get better at this, I promise. The question was, who wrote the novella The Hellbound Heart, which inspired the movie Hellraiser? And if you said Clive Barker, you are right, my friend. Clive Barker is the one who wrote it. What a fucking genius. Love Clive Barker. He's amazing. His work is twisted. And if you're a horror fan and you don't know who Clive Barker is, when you're done this episode, Google him. I'm all about sending people to Google. I'm not giving you all the information. And if I did that, we'd be together all day, which is fine. But I also have to, make sure that I give time to my husband, because he would be a little upset if I didn't show him any attention, But that is it for this week's episode of The Horror Within Me. I want to say thank you for taking time out of your day to sit with me and talk about this beautiful movie that is amazing and scary and must watch for any horror fan, young or old or new or whatever the case may be. Definitely check it out. $3.99 is worth it to rent it if you don't own it, or you can't find it streaming for free, because I couldn't. But yeah, definitely check it out. And for more Horror Within Me content, you can check out the website, thehorrorwithinme.com, where we have Spooky Shakers, which we're going to be doing a photo shoot this weekend of the actual drinks in pretty cups that we're going to add to the website next to the description and recipe of each drink. So I don't know how many drinks we're going to do this weekend, but check that out because it's going to be super fucking fun and awesome. And we are still working on stickers and t-shirt pre-orders, so keep an eye out on the Facebook page for that. And also head over to TikTok for the Heart Within Me podcast, where you can keep up with other content that I'm doing that I don't put into a full episode of the Heart Within Me, such as quick updates on Halloween Ends or a movie that I might have watched quickly that I haven't pre-scheduled for the podcast. So that's where you can get all that information, as well as Instagram, and YouTube is still a work in progress. So check it out as I build that as well. All right, that concludes this week's episode of The Heart Within Me. But it also concludes the month of August. And that means that summer is officially over, my fiends. And then next week, we start with September, which means it's back to school month. And what we're going to do here at The Heart Within Me is we're going to do an after-school special. And each week, the after school special is going to be a movie based around children in horror movies or teenagers. And the first movie that we're going to cover in September is none other than the original, The Master, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Because what better way to go back to school than to have Freddy Krueger stalking your nightmares? So make sure that you join us each week in September for the after school special episodes that are focused around monsters or killers stalking teenagers and children. So as again, Nightmare on Elm Street will be the first edition of the after school special. And as always, my fiends, stay safe, but more importantly, stay spooky.